Hi everyone! It is a beautiful June day today, and we are headed to check out Indian Creek Farm. And this is in Ithaca, New York. We've never been here before, and their strawberry season started a little bit before Swiss Stack Farms, so we wanted to come here and check it out. Swiss Stack Farms is where we normally go, and it's only about 10 minutes away from our house, so it makes strawberry picking really, really easy. But I thought we would check this place out together. For today's harvest, we ended up picking 8 quarts, which is a good start for the beginning of the season. Strawberry season actually came early this year for us, and it's because we had such a warm winter and a warm spring. So normally strawberries for us start mid to later in June, and this year it started in the beginning of June, which I'm not disappointed about. Strawberries are actually our favorite fruit, so strawberry season is really big for us. I will freeze a whole bunch of strawberries. I will also dehydrate strawberries. I'm going to make some strawberry vinegar. I'm also going to make strawberry yogurt. And of course, I'm going to make homemade strawberry jam, which in this video, I am going to show you all of the things that I am making with strawberries. I thought about dividing it up into separate recipe videos, but I think it's really handy to have all of the strawberry recipes in one place, since it is true that while it is strawberry season, I am constantly doing all of these strawberries and making them into different recipes. And then, of course, I also have strawberries in the refrigerator every day that I use in my oatmeal bowl every morning, or I also like to top salads with fresh strawberries or make different types of savory salads with strawberries. Because for me, I love sweet and savory mixed together. Mr. Witch is not a big fan of that, which is perfectly fine, but for me, I like the combination of sweet and savory. It was such a beautiful day to be out here harvesting strawberries. It was warm but not too hot. Since it was their first day open as well, it wasn't busy yet, which I was kind of surprised about. I thought it was going to be packed, but it wasn't, which was great. By the end of this strawberry season, we will have picked 120 quarts of strawberries, which I know probably seems like a lot to some people. And it is a lot, but again, we use strawberries a lot. We put them in our smoothies every day, and I like to use dehydrated strawberries in granola. I also like to make teas out of it and infusions, so for us, it's handy to have a lot of them. And my goal with 120 quarts of strawberries is that will get us through winter into next strawberry season without us having to buy frozen strawberries. Because let's be honest, frozen strawberries are pretty disgusting. They lack flavor. We really enjoyed our time at Indian Creek Farm. If you live in the Ithaca area and haven't checked them out, I would highly recommend it. We're going to head home now, and I'm going to get started on prepping this batch of strawberries for the freezer. So this is a few days later. I didn't show me freezing strawberries because, well, that's pretty basic. You wash them, pull the tops off, and freeze them. Nothing too interesting. I went to Swiss Stack Farm, which is the one that is close to us, and I'm so excited because their strawberry season started like 4 days after Indian Creek's did. And I picked some strawberries, and the first thing I'm going to show you that I'm making is strawberry yogurt. I love this because you can use a basic yogurt recipe. So you could use my basic yogurt recipe that's on my channel already, and then just add the strawberry mixture that I'm going to make into your yogurt. I'm starting with about 2 cups of strawberries, and I'm cutting the tops off. And then sometimes I'm slicing the strawberries into smaller pieces, and sometimes I'm just cutting them in half. It just depends on how small they already are. And I'm putting them into a saucepan. Before I forget, don't throw out your strawberry tops, because there are some amazing recipes that you can make with strawberry tops in order to use them. So put them in a jar and stick them in the fridge. I'm going to put the cut strawberries in the saucepan over medium-low heat, and I'm going to just very lightly mash them a little bit, as you can see. And then I am going to add 1 tablespoon of sugar to them. To the strawberry mixture, I added 1 teaspoon of chia seeds. And this would help to thicken up the kind of like jam jelly that I'm making to put into my yogurt, instead of having to use any other thickening agent. And chia seeds are loaded with vitamins and nutrients. As the strawberries warm up, I mashed them just a little bit more, but I wanted it a little chunky. So stop when you have the right consistency that you would like. And now I'm just constantly stirring them until we get this nice liquid forming. And as you can see, there they are. The strawberries are ready, and now I just need to let them cool before I add them to our yogurt. It's been about an hour and the strawberries have cooled off, and look how beautiful. Oh, it looks great. So I am going to add that now to my yogurt. I'm going to give it a good stir to get it all incorporated. And by the way, I only added a tablespoon of sugar, but if you like your yogurt a little bit sweeter, feel free to add more. That's just what we prefer. With the yogurt done, we're going to move on to the next recipe, which I'm not sure it's really a recipe per se, but it's just something else that I love to do with strawberries, and that is dehydrating strawberries. Dehydrated strawberries last so long, and they are really handy to have, whether you're looking for a quick healthy snack, you want to add them to granola, or you want to make an infusion or some tea using strawberries. They're just great to keep on the shelf, on hand, all season long. For the dehydrated strawberries, I gave them a really good wash, and then I put them on a towel, dried them off a little bit, and then I'm going to take them over and start slicing them up. I know that strawberries can be dehydrated in the oven. However, for us, I have a dehydrator, and I'm going to be using that in order to dehydrate strawberries. This will be the 4th year that I have done dehydrated strawberries, so I kind of have an idea of how many I need to do in order to get us through the season. Our dehydrator has 9 dehydrator racks, and 9 racks fit 10 quarts of strawberries. So usually I try to do at least 3 sessions. So that would be 30 quarts in total of dehydrated strawberries, and that would last us through the rest of the year, into winter, and into next strawberry season. When it comes to how thick or thin to slice your strawberries for the dehydrator, I'm not really sure how thick or thin this is, but just take a look at how I sliced them and you can kind of get an idea of how big the slices should be. Then I like to spread them out so that they are not stacked on top of each other, because that way you get proper airflow and they can dehydrate quicker. So I'm going to spread them out 1 layer deep. This is from my second dehydrated strawberry session, and I put them in the dehydrator at 115 degrees for 24 hours. 24 hours, I take each tray out, I flip them over to their other side and loosen them from the tray because they are a little stuck. And then I'm going to put them back in the dehydrator at 115 degrees for another 24 hours. After that, they're ready. Now it's time to shift over to the next recipe. Before I start washing the strawberries and getting them ready for the strawberry chia seed jam that I'm going to make, I'm just taking out some strawberries and putting them in quart containers to place them in the refrigerator. When I harvest strawberries and want to keep them for eating later, like in cereal or oatmeal, I don't like to wash them first before I put them in the fridge. It's really hard to get them dry and they tend to rot faster on me. So I'll just wash them before I use them to put them in my oatmeal. I'm going to give the strawberries that I'm using in the jam a really good wash. And I'm going to put them on a large towel to dry them a little bit. And we will get started by chopping them up. I thought it would be easier if I gave you the recipe ahead of time. So here are the measurements for the strawberry chia seed jam. Feel free to pause here, screen capture, or come back to this anytime you need to refer to it. This recipe is going to be a little bit different from the other ones that I have shown you on the channel. People always ask me, how do you come up with these recipes? Where do you get your ideas from? How do you know what your measurements are? How do you create a recipe? And I always say, well, I kind of wing it, and I really do. So what I thought I would do is show you my process of creating a recipe, because this strawberry chia seed jam recipe I created while making this video. So what I did was I first went online and I read several different other jam recipes. Some were for chia seed use, some weren't, and kind of got a feel for what some of the typical recipes say. So I created this measurement with what I found online, and I now wanted to take that and build off of that. So it's kind of like a template for me to have an idea of, all right, well, this is what the general consensus is. It's going to change, but at least I have a little bit of a focus point to go off of. You're going to notice that I do all of the measurements using the kitchen scale. I love it. It's an accurate way for me to measure things, and I don't dirty a ton of measuring utensils. So what I first did was I weighed out a pound of strawberries, and then I converted that to grams, and it was about 457 grams. So from there, I ended up measuring out 7 pounds of strawberries, which equal around 3,200 grams. So that's going to be your starting point. I'm going to cut the strawberries just into little chunks. I mean, they don't have to be real thin because, again, we're going to mash them. You can also use an immersion blender, which I was going to buy one of those this year and I hadn't yet. And after I made this recipe, I ordered an immersion blender so that I have it for blueberry season so I can make blueberry jam, which I will also show you how to do. And this is a very rare sighting. Our cat, Princess, she recently has discovered that being on the counter is really exciting. I don't know why it took her 18 years to get to this point, but here we are, and she kind of hung with me for about 15 minutes on the counter. It was amazing, and I love having her around. And she was just so happy and was kind of watching what was going on, and every once in a while I'd stop and pet her, but she was just a happy little girl. So I had to share this with everyone because it's very rare that I catch her on camera. She's very shy, and it's even rarer that she gets on the counter and actually stays and hangs with me. So everyone gets to appreciate Princess a little bit. And this is her being jealous that I wasn't petting her enough, so she got closer and gently pawed me because she wanted more love and attention. It was so sweet. I'm so lucky to have her. And side note, before anybody complains or puts anything in the comment section, you do what you want in your house with pets being on the counter or not. That is fully up to you. I'm not asking anybody to eat my food if they don't want to. All of my friends know that my cat gets on the counter and has no problem with it, and neither do I. If you don't like cats on the counter in your house, great, that's wonderful. Then you don't have to have cats on the counter in your house. So I'm just stopping any comments before they start. I was trying to get a lot of things accomplished today, so in between making the strawberry jam, I'm also making a loaf of sourdough bread. So back to the jam, I am doing 462 grams of honey. This is the first time I will be using honey in my jam. I've never tried it before, and I have to say that I really, really enjoyed it over sugar. Not saying I would use it every time. I have to experiment with it more, but I do definitely love it in this jam. I am pouring the honey directly over my strawberries. Then I'm going to take the pot and put it on the stove, and we're going to get cooking. I've turned this on medium-low heat, and now I'm adding the lemon zest. I'm also going to be adding the lemon juice right now. Now I'm going to begin by slowly mashing some of the strawberries. As the temperature has risen a little bit in the pot, they're getting a little warm, and there's a little bit of the juice coming out of the strawberries. You have plenty of options here when it comes to mashing up your strawberries. You could have put them in a food processor prior and ground them a little bit, which I've done previous years, but I kind of wanted to have parts where the whole strawberries are in, so that's why I'm hand mashing. Next time I will use an immersion blender, just because that would be a lot easier and it would go a little faster, but you can use any method you would prefer. Once the strawberries have released a bunch of the liquid and you've mashed them a little bit, now's a good time to measure out your chia seeds and add them in. As you see here, I am not adding all of the chia seeds at one time, and there's a reason for that. I've made a lot of different recipes using chia seeds, whether it's chia seed pudding. I've also made some syrup for pancakes with chia seeds. And if you add all of those chia seeds at the same time, you're going to get chia seed lumps. So add a little bit and then give it a really good stir, give it a few minutes, and then add a little bit more in. So just make it a slower process. Once all the chia seeds were added in, I gave it another quick little mash just to make sure that I had the strawberries mashed up to the consistency that I wanted the jam to be. While the jam is cooking on a low temperature, I'm going to fill my canning pot and get the water boiling so that it's ready for the time when the jam is ready. I will be water bath canning today. I don't currently have a pressure canner, although I might be purchasing one later in the year. We will see, but for everything that I can so far, I only ever need water bath canning. When it comes to my process of canning, I'll show you what I do, but there's so many different ways to do it. By no means am I saying that my way is right. This is just how I've learned to do it from my mom, and this is how we always can. So let me show you what I do. First thing is, if I'm in a hurry, if I know that a jam or a sauce or whatever is going to be ready pretty quickly, I fill my pot with hot water from the sink as opposed to cold water so that I can get it to boil quicker. So as you can see, that's what I'm doing here. You're going to want at least an inch of headspace when it comes to how far up you should go so that your jars will be covered. Now, for me, I add my jars later as opposed to adding them in the beginning when I put the canning pot on the stove. I know how high the water level needs to be for different size jars, so I'm just filling it accordingly to what I know. As for my canning jars, these are pint-sized jars. They have all been previously washed, and what I'm going to do is just quickly sterilize them. So I have some water boiling in the tea kettle on the stove that I'm going to add to all of these jars. I also have out my stainless steel funnel, and then I have my jar grabbers. And inside this old can, I love using these cans for canning items. I have all of my brand new lids along with rings. To sterilize my jars, I add a little bit of boiling water, let them sit for a few minutes, and then swish the water around, dump the water out, and put them on a towel to dry upside down for a few minutes. When it comes to the lids, I put the lids in a small bowl and I put boiling water on those, and then when I'm ready to use them, I drain the water. Again, these are just steps I take because this is how I have learned to can. If you do it differently, there's nothing wrong with that. The jam is ready and the water is boiling in the canning pot, so I've lowered the temperature of the canning pot water just so it doesn't sit there and boil for another 15 minutes. I do know that a lot of people put their sauce or their jam or whatever in their jars, then put those jars in the canning pot, and then turn on the heat in their canning pot and bring their pot up to boiling temperature. You can absolutely do that. I just do it this way because I found, for me at least, it's a lot faster and I can get the jars in quickly. The consistency of this jam was perfect, and it thickened up just a little bit more after I got done canning, and I'm so impressed with it. When I fill my jars, I am making sure that I leave about an inch of headspace at the top. I also make sure that after I'm done filling the jars, that I wipe the rims with a damp paper towel just to make sure I accidentally didn't get any jam on them. Otherwise, the canning lid won't seal. I had that happen the first time I did jam. I found a few jars that didn't seal, and it was because I had gotten some jam on the rim. I'm stacking my canning rack with my jars, and I'm going to go get this in the pot. To make sure that my jars do not crack, what I do, since the water is boiling, that's why the contents of the jar for the jam is very, very hot. So I like to just very gently and very slowly lower the jars down into the water. And what I'll do is kind of rest them here on the rim for 30 seconds or more before I actually fully submerge them into the water. That way the jars don't crack or explode when I do fully submerge them in water. I'm going to put the lid on and let them boil for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I'm going to turn the heat off and leave the lid on and let them sit for 5 minutes in the hot water. After the 5 minutes, then I will come in and remove the rack slowly. In the end, this made 20 jars. All right, let's get to the next recipe. As I mentioned earlier, don't get rid of your strawberry tops, and that is because I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can use your strawberry tops. So the first one is I took a clean glass mason jar, and I'm going to pack about half the jar full of these strawberry tops. Then I'm going to add a jar weight, and to that jar, I am going to add white wine vinegar. I'm going to fill it up to the top, and then the lid that you choose is very important. I grabbed the wrong size lid here, but what you're going to want to use is a plastic lid or a lid that is not metal, because if you use metal, the vinegar will rust it. And I learned that the hard way. So just make sure here that you use some other type of lid. I'm now going to take this and let it sit on the counter for about 7 days. And when it's ready, I'm going to strain it and we will have strawberry vinegar. And that is such a great way to use strawberry tops. And look how pretty it looks. This is the one that I made last week that is strawberry vinegar. And as you can see, I used a metal top and went, oh, whoops, I shouldn't have done that. So I just threw it out. But none of that got in the jar, so I am happy with that. This was not white wine vinegar either, and I wanted to point that out. You can also use apple cider vinegar, which is what I used here. And it came out really delicious. It's a bit more tart than if you use white wine vinegar, but it's still really good. I'm going to store this vinegar in the refrigerator. Let's move on to the final recipe. We have our last bowl of strawberry tops here, and I am going to add them to a small saucepan. With these tops, we are going to create a simple strawberry syrup that you can add over top of ice cream or add to milk. I put the strawberry tops over medium-low heat, and I'm adding 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to start stirring the tops, making sure that the sugar gets incorporated. To this, I added 2 cups of water. I'm looking for it to come to a nice rolling boil, and when it does, I'm going to start mashing the strawberry tops a little bit, just to make sure that I release all of that strawberry flavor. You can add more sugar if you like. For us, I just did the 2 tablespoons, but feel free to add more. I allowed the tops to slowly boil for about 20 minutes. And now I'm going to taste test it, which it was delicious. And then I turned off the heat and I'm going to get ready to strain it. I used a metal mesh strainer here. I just poured it into my bowl. It ended up making about 1.5 cups of liquid or so. And I do press the tops out just to make sure that I get all the liquid out. And I will put this in a glass mason jar and store it in the refrigerator. Thank you so much for joining me at Witch Hollow Homesteading today. I hope you found this video helpful and inspiring. If you have any video ideas or recipes that you'd like to see, comment below. Happy homesteading!